Hey ladies, welcome back to my channel, First Love. My name is Joelle and I'm here just to be a voice of encouragement and empowerment to you to live out your purpose on this earth, which I believe begins with having Jesus as the first love of your life. Today I want to talk about God's heart and our joy. You know, we hear the church talk about joy a lot. It talks about how Christ came so that we could have a fulfilled life and so that we can experience joy that the world doesn't know. And while all of that is so true, I don't know if any of you feel this way, but I know that I have for a long time. I would listen to those words and almost feel shame, because the truth is there were many days where I didn't experience an abundance of joy. And when I looked at my own life compared to lives of my friends who didn't know Jesus, I really didn't see much of a difference. And that's what we're going to talk about today. So I hope this encourages you, and I can't wait to just share what God's been teaching me about joy. Ready to record this video and my hair wasn't done yet, and so I was like, oh, I've got to fix my hair and get on my makeup and make myself look presentable for this video. And instead of curling my hair, straightening it, I just decided to throw it up in a bun, because I feel like it really goes hand in hand with what I'm going to be sharing today. So I just want to take a couple of minutes and walk through a story with you. And the story begins at creation, where God created a beautiful world for man to enjoy, and he created man and woman in his own image. He had a relationship with them in the Garden of Eden where he would come and talk with them and commune with them. And he gave them a purpose. He told them to bear fruit, to have community, to be a blessing to others. A heart that is created to yearn for certain things will never feel fulfilled unless it receives those things. And so I think it's very important to realize for ourselves that we were created with a purpose. Our very being, our soul, was created to know God. It was created to have God on the throne of our hearts, for him to be our one God. It was created to live out a purpose that God intended us to have. And then what happened? We lost that identity in the fall. Satan came, and you know the story. He asked Eve a simple question: does God really want you to feel fulfilled? Does he really want you to experience joy? Or is he cheating you on some things in life? You know, Eve had everything in the Garden of Eden. She had all life, all peace, all joy. She had fulfillment. And in one action of doubt, she lost everything. And the story continues on today. Satan continues to whisper in our ears that same lie. Does God really want you to be happy? Or is he withholding things from you that could make you happy? If you really surrender your life to him, if you really make him Lord of your life, will you really feel fulfilled? Or won't you be missing out on things that would bring you pleasure and joy? And so what do? We search for joy. We search for fulfillment in other things. We look for it in our relationships, in our finances. We look for it in our children. We look for it in social media, in the next style, in the next outfit that we're gonna wear. We look for it in perfect environments, having our hair fixed perfectly, our makeup done, our kids happy, our relationship with our boyfriend great. And we think that those things will make us feel satisfied. We have forgotten that we were created to be satisfied solely in God. We were created to be solely satisfied in him, and we were created to enjoy the other things, but never for those things to sit on the throne of our hearts and for us to worship them and yearn for them as if they could ever satisfy us. Because of the fall, we've become self-conscious people, consumed with getting and receiving, and we have lost our purpose that we were created for in bearing fruit and being a blessing to others. When we are not living into the purpose and plan that God created for us, we deteriorate. In all of our getting, we continue to feel unfulfilled. Our joy that we are promised turns into a temporary happiness that's always fleeting. We turn love into lust. We turn peace into controlling our environment. We turn self-discipline into self-idolatry. When we are not living into the way that God created us to be, and not positioning our hearts in line with how He created our hearts to be fulfilled, we deteriorate. But the story doesn't end there. Jesus, before He died on the cross, He talks to His disciples and he tells them another story, a story of a different garden, a garden where He is the vine, He is the source of life. Just like in the creation where God breathed the breath of life into Adam and Eve and was their source of living, Christ talks about how now He is that source of life for us and we are the branches. And He calls His disciples, and He also calls us to abide in Him, to know Him, to commune with Him, just like in the garden. And He says that in doing that, we will begin to bear fruit again. You see, Christ in this passage is restoring us back to the way we were intended to be before we started deteriorating. He's giving us a picture of what our life can look like if we yield to Him. And rather than striving to feel fulfillment in this life through things and accomplishments, to have that fulfillment through Him and Him alone, and allow Him to be the King over the throne of our hearts. And He ends this story by saying this: I tell you these things so that your joy could be complete. Because the truth is, after the fall, man's joy was lost. His sense of meaning and fulfillment was ripped away from him. And Christ is telling His disciples, because of the work that I'm going to do on this cross, you get to have that joy back. Paul says it like this in Philippians chapter 1, verse 21. He says, for me to live is Christ. He says, I count all things as loss for the sake of knowing Christ. Every good thing in your life is nothing. You can count it as loss. It does not credit you in any way. He is the only source of joy and fulfillment that you will ever experience in this world. Every other imitation is fleeting. So Christ tells us how to experience true fulfillment, and that is through abiding in Him, through relationship with Him, and bearing fruit in our lives by being God conscious, not self-conscious, not consumed with me, not consumed with what I can get. That doesn't bring fulfillment. Only being consumed with a holy God who loves you so deeply that He was willing to send His own Son to restore you back to the way you were created to be. And so Romans 12:2 says, don't be conformed to this world. Don't be conformed to the messages of the world, our culture that says, if you get this outfit, if you have this fashion, if you get this many likes on social media, then you'll feel fulfilled. Don't conform to that. But we have to be transformed by the renewing of our mind that says, God is for me. Every good and perfect gift comes from Him and Him alone. We have to get Christ back on the throne of our hearts and yield our fleshly desires, give those to Him, and yield to the leading of the Holy Spirit in our lives. And so I want to ask the question, if joy is not something that you experience as a follower of Jesus, what are the things that you're seeking out for fulfillment more than you're seeking Him out? And begin to lay those things aside and really take time to be intentional to begin to know God. Without Jesus, guys, we have nothing. But with Him, we have everything. Do you believe that? And before I close, I just really quickly want to say, if you're someone who is going through a really difficult time right now, where life is just, it's really hard, I have more than been there. And I don't know why this is a weepy day for me. I'm not a crier, but I just want to say this, that Hebrews says that for the joy that was set before him, Christ endured the cross. And there's going to be things in this life that we're going to have to endure because we live in a broken world. But Christ died for the joy that was set before him, and that joy was us. He saw us, and he saw that he would have a relationship with us restored. And so he endured the hardest thing that any man has had to go through. And so if you're going through a really hard time, I'm going to say this to you. We do have joy to hold on to. And that joy is that no matter what happens in this life, we do win. There is hope. One day we will be fully restored to who we were created to be. We will know that we are fully loved by God. We will live with all joy, all peace. There will be no suffering. And in the meantime, God gives you the option to experience his peace and his joy, even in a broken world. If you're someone today that has watched this video and you're like, wow, yeah, I've been kind of lying to myself for a long time, telling myself that, yeah, you have joy as a Christian, and really, Joelle, I don't. Please consider joining our Facebook group. It's a small community, and we're really there just to encourage each other to have Jesus as the first love of our lives and to live out our purpose on this earth. We go through monthly devotionals together where I'm giving you guides to help you read the Bible for yourself. And I'll also be doing workshops on how to hear the voice of God, how to study the word for yourself. As Christians, many of us, we know a lot about God, but very few of us truly know him. And so that's the heart behind First Love. So please consider joining our group. We would love to have you. Hope you're encouraged today, and I can't wait until next time.